We begin our discussions on the Mishkan in this week's Parsha, and then going forward, the upcoming Parshiot. A lot of symbolism there. I want to speak about one component of it and connect it to my grandfather, of blessed memory, whose yahrzeit was yesterday. We have the cherubs, the kruvim, on top of the Aron, and our tradition tells us that the kruvim, the cherubs, they look like young children, and their faces would be like facing each other if we were doing God's will. If we were not, they'd face away from each other. And they have wings. There's an interesting, lots been written on that, why God wanted that in the temple and in the Holy of Holies. But we'll put that aside for now. The question I want to ask is, why did God choose to have them look like young children? God could have chosen them to look like Avram Avinu, I don't know, like an old sage or a holy matriarch. Why specifically younger children? So, simple explanation is that the children come into the world without sin. So when we do God's will, the children are there, they're facing each other. That symbolizes a lack of sin. Another way to go with this, though, and this Rav Kook talks about this a lot, perhaps it's symbolizing that in the Holy of Holies, to be Holy of Holy, that's where the Aron is, you need to have simplicity like a child. Now, sometimes our children get things that we don't get because we're overly sophisticated. We've had all this experience. Sometimes they say things, children just say things that are on their mind. There's some that are so true that we sometimes lose track of those truths. And so it's basically saying, like, have simple faith, have simple fear of God, simple love for each other. It's not saying that you shouldn't expand on that, but that's the foundation. And if you become too sophisticated to the point that you lose that simplicity, you're missing out. And so this simplicity is very present in my Sabba, of blessed memory. Him and my Savta, of blessed memory, they were the ones who were primarily responsible for me becoming an observant Jew. After I left high school, I moved to Israel, and they kind of took me in as their children in a way. I was away. My parents were in America, and so they kind of brought me in. I would observe my Sabba. Of course, I learned a lot of Torah in yeshiva, and the rabbis were influential, but just watching them do things, that changed me. And my Sabba did everything in a very simple way. Is simple, very, very simple faith. A few examples. When I first started to learn tefillah with him, how to daven. So he's a Sephardic Jew, so his prayer book is filled with like different mystical intentions. He believed them with simplicity. Like, this is the reality. So he sat me down. He's like, we're praying now. In this part of prayer, you're in this world, like in this spiritual world. This part of it's the first time I ever learned about the Siddur, from an Orthodox perspective. He goes, in this part of the prayer, you're in Olam HaBriyah. Then you're Olam HaTzilut. You're in these worlds right now. And I was like, he believed that in a very simple and pure way. I remember watching him prepare for Shabbos was also interesting. My Savta basically did everything, but he had his certain roles, and he was very careful to do them. Like he would kindle the lights. They would prepare they didn't have with the wicks for my Savta to light. And every Shabbos he was very careful at doing that with great precision in a very simple way. Like, he could be doing a lot of other things, but he was careful to set that up. And I just watched him do these things, and it impacted me. Another one was such a small thing, but it was so he never wanted to be without his yarmulke, never. So he would sleep in this this white yarmulke, and then when he would wear a hat, we would put on a hat to bench. So whenever he would do that, he would do this very quick thing where quickly, and he put up the hat because he didn't want to have a moment without his yarmulke. That's simple love, faith for fear of God that had a great impression on me. One more, this very small thing was he lived to a ripe old age. He lived to 95. I remember in his later years, I spent a lot of time with him. I'd accompany him to shul, and we spent time. It was kind of a very long walk because he walked very slow, but we got there eventually, and we get to shul. I remember seeing him standing up for different people coming in the shul. The halacha says you have to stand up for an elder. And so he would stand up for all these elders. He was older than all of them, but he would just always stand up. That an impression on me. I should be doing this. They're much older than me. And so I guess it's just everything he did with simplicity, love. He took the law and he like accepted it in a pure and simple way. And I just watched all that, and I guess it kind of went inside of me and impacted me in a positive way. So that's just a few examples of simplicity, but really Rav Kook says it's like the foundation of Yiddishkeit is to be a simple Jew. From there, be as complicated, sophisticated as possible. If you lose the simplicity, though, you're missing the mark. That's what he would say.